What's the status of Adam then for the weekend?
Adam will be out for the weekend. He wasn't on the ice today or yesterday. I don't expect him to be on the ice until at the earliest later in the week, if not beginning of next week. It's a hip pointer right now. It's a bruise, and it's sore. So we're just waiting. We think he could really improve quickly once the bruise calms down a little bit. But right now it's pretty sore.
When you start to talk about early next week, is next week in jeopardy a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. What we don't want to do is we don't want to take steps backwards with him for sure. He's played good hockey for us pretty consistently. We don't want to jeopardize the second half because of one weekend. So we'll be real careful on how he feels, and we'll make the decision. You know, we leave. It's a short week for us next week, so we won't have a whole lot of time to make a decision.
Are you leaving Wednesday night?
Wednesday night, yeah. Yeah.
And what does his loss mean to you guys? As you mentioned earlier, been playing well.
Well, you start when you've already lost Carpenter, and then you lose Adam, who's been, I think he's been a top 9 forward since the day he got here. This year he's been a top 3 or 4 guy for sure for us. It hurts. It hurts. You know, this has been a tough stretch. We all agree that we knew the second 8 games was going to be a very difficult stretch starting at Mankato, and it has been. You need your best players, and when you lose a guy like Adam, you don't have your best players.
This week, the focus is continuing to try to get better on the process and the details.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And execution.
Right.
We have not struggled with our compete level for the most part. I don't want to jinx that by any means, but our compete level's been pretty good, especially when we've had to react even. You know, we down 2-0 at Lake Superior, we reacted. Down 2-0 at home to Mankato, we reacted. We want to be more proactive for sure, but it comes down to our execution. Our execution hasn't been close to good enough. The plays that we're making in games are things that are happening every day in practice, and it's not one guy, and it's not one position. It's all 3 positions, and it's a lot of different guys. We're going to stick to what we know best, and that's the process, and that's the details of individuals' games and collective game, and that was the focus of today's practice. It'll be focused tomorrow.
Is there a concern that can be as much mental as it is physical when you?
Absolutely. Because we've got guys making poor plays that have been around for a while, that have beat good teams in playoff series and so on and so forth. These are things that should be in our rearview mirror. They shouldn't be happening. So absolutely, they're mental, and we're in our own way a little bit. All of that being said, everyone has to look inward, starting with me. I've obviously got some fault in what's gone on here the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. And we're all trying to make it better. That's what we like about this group. The group understands. We're underperforming, we're underachieving. And it's not from start to finish. It's from here to here in a game, or from here to here. The constant message is we can all do better. We all need to up our game. And we collectively need to play better for longer in games. It's obviously a lot easier said than done for us.
You're coming off one of your, probably easily your toughest stretch of the season. Now you're playing a winless Huntsville team. Is the challenge as much mental as it is physical?
I think absolutely. Huntsville is going to, they're going to get results here. It's just a matter of when. They're fighting as hard as anybody. Our focus is us. You know, it's a challenge, just like Lake Superior was a challenge. It might be a different type of challenge. We're back home, so it's, you know, but it's a challenge nonetheless. And I think, as you said, that challenge is mental. We've got to find a way to prepare properly this week mentally. Now, we're hoping that it's going to be difficult because Huntsville is going to get a very angry team. A team that's coming off getting swept for the first time this year in a series where we had leads in the third period both nights again. We're hoping that that's the team they get. And I think 100% that challenge is as much mental as it is physical. Because if we're right mentally, physically we'll be right. Because we're in shape. We're this part of the first half of the year. This isn't about being tired. Physically. Mentally, absolutely. That's what we have to fight against.
And you look at Huntsville's scores, and they've got 5 1-goal losses against some really good teams.
Absolutely. And every weekend seems to be, I shouldn't say every weekend, their weekends seem to be kind of a lopsided loss and then a real tight one. Whether it's tight one, then lopsided, or whatever, however you shake it out. This is a team that's close. They're looking for some momentum. They're looking for some confidence. They're looking for a bounce here or there. Dangerous team. They've played good, really good teams this year, as you've mentioned. Our focus is our preparation to be ready to go Friday night, no matter who we play. But we always prepare our guys for obviously the opponent and what to expect from them. We'll do that just like we do every other week. And Huntsville is a dangerous opponent.
Given where this program was when you took over, and even a couple years before, in terms of the uncertainty, can you have a great appreciation for what Huntsville has been through?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Haven't talked to their coach a whole lot in terms of this year. But I've talked to some of their fans via email before when I first got here. We played down there, they played up here. Absolute appreciation. Obviously the one major difference is the history of this program runs pretty deep. But there's some similar, ours were 3 or 4 years ago, or 4 years ago or more. Theirs have been over a little more short term, but there's some similar parts of the story for sure.
Coach, you talked a little bit about them keeping the focus from game 1 to game 2 in these series, and we struggled with that a little bit this year too. Having the performance level consistent both nights.
We're just trying to find a way to win a hockey game right now. So if we have a good performance Friday, we'll address that Saturday and how to keep that performance level up. The only way we know how to prepare is to use each and every day as another opportunity. That's hard sometimes to sell to a 22-year-old. But that's the only way we know, and that's our focus. If we focus on every day as another opportunity, then Friday's an opportunity and Saturday's its own separate opportunity, and that to us means that those are the habits you want to develop. You want to develop that day is the next chance for you to be great. Well, today was practice. Tomorrow will be practice. Friday just so happens to be a game, and then you put that aside and you go Saturday. I honestly, personally, don't think our effort Friday has been a whole lot different than Saturday or vice versa. I think our execution hasn't been nowhere near good enough. Our effort both nights this past weekend was about the same. Our execution was about the same, unfortunately. Both nights we had a 1-goal lead. Both nights we had to fight back. One was a 2-goal fight back. One was we're down 2-1. We fight back, we're up 3-2. Both games we found a way to lose those. Once you fight back to 3-2, the door should be closed, especially what we've been through at Mankato, what we were through at Ferris. We're not learning those lessons just yet. So it's 100% on execution right now, and less on the effort from one night to the next. We've been struggling the last 4, 5, 6 games in a row to execute for more parts of the game. That's been our challenge.
How do you characterize the team? You said angry after 3 tough losses like that in a row. What's the mood of the team?
The feeling is frustrated. The concern we have to that is that frustrated going to be focused on we're not going to let this happen again, or we're feeling sorry for ourselves. And that's we're trying to have a good solid lead in that from a coaching perspective, but that still comes down to each individual. We obviously are not wanting us to allow the feeling sorry for themselves to creep in. We don't want that, but some things just happen. We want the aggro to be more focused on we're leaving points on the board. We're letting games go that we should be winning. Taking nothing away from our opponents. They deserve to win those games. But when you've got leads in the third period, those are things we're letting go. And I want that anger and that frustration to be focused on how we make that better versus feeling sorry for ourselves. That's been our focus. How do we fight that from happening? We just keep presenting it. We keep talking about it. We keep making sure that they're holding each other accountable to that and not letting themselves fall into that woe is me as an individual. Will it work? We'll find out.
Can you say something about goalie play so far this year, about ball control?
Goalie play's been good, but like anybody else on our team, I think sometimes that position gets too much of either. It's their fault when you win and it's their fault when you lose. I think like anybody else on our team, we need improved play from Thomas Scholl. We need improved play from Tommy Burke. We need improved play from Marcus Perrier. We need improved play from Michael Sullivan. We can go down the list. The part of the process is Thomas is a freshman. Tommy's a sophomore who wasn't supposed to play at all. And they've played well for us. That inconsistency, that goal you'd like to have back. We've been giving up too many goals. We think that over the last few games you can say that's a goal you need to have. We can do that. Was Thomas having the same type of game when he shut out Mankato, when he shut out Colgate? We think he was. Saving the same type of pucks, getting the same 4 or 5 enormous saves I think we've seen him make. And Tommy Burke the same way. Tommy, it was his first loss on Friday. But we want process, right? We don't necessarily need results only. We want process will lead to results. Well, that's every individual game as well. So we don't want bad goals. We want to make sure they're practicing properly. And when you have the puck in your stick, even if you're a goaltender, we expect execution with that play. Those plays right now are ending up in our net. Whether it's a goaltending to D, a D to D, a D to forward, whatever it is, they're ending up in our net. So I think our goaltending play's been good, and they're a freshman and a sophomore. And so has one guy taken the job and become the bona fide number one? No. Do we want their play to improve? Yes. Just like we want everyone's play to improve.
I think you already addressed it, but no chance of us overlooking an 0-8 team this weekend.
Well, no chance of the coaching staff overlooking it. We're going to harp on it. We're going to beat it to death for sure. It's going to have to come from our upperclassmen. If their lead is such that they're preparing like any other game, like any other weekend, with the utmost focus and want to get better at executing and purpose to what we're doing, we'll be fine. If all of a sudden they take their foot off the gas because of a record, well, we'll leave it to chance. And this team will hurt you if you leave it to chance. We're trying to focus on it as such from a coaching staff perspective, but then again, it comes down to every individual making sure they're ready to go.
I'm not letting the forwards off the hook with the way I asked this question, but you had mentioned the defense and the goaltending. Do you feel like when those things are right, everything else kind of takes care of itself? Or that?
I feel when those things are right, that's a big part of the process from a defensive standpoint. We try to focus on that first. I mean, at the very least, we feel like we should be able to defend. This year, we're averaging 3 goals a game. If we can defend and win that objective that we have, keeping our opponent to less than 3 goals, and you're averaging 3 goals, the numbers say you're going to win a lot more than you lose. We've been giving up way too many goals. Everybody has a hand in that. Everybody. And when you sit down with the goaltenders, their immediate reaction is, well, that's my fault. No, we're not saying it's your fault. We're saying you can improve your play. Just like we're saying a forward can improve his play. Maybe it's a play we don't make around the other team's net. Nobody ever talks about that. Pucks that should be buried that aren't. And you always, okay, there's a play right there. We had the puck in our stick with 11 seconds to go in the second period at Lake Superior with a 1-0 lead. It ends up in our net. Well, that's what's happening. Everybody has a hand in that. So the only thing we know as coaches is to point it out to individuals and collective and say, we need more. You're better than that. Don't settle for the level we're at right now. That one goal doesn't seem to be a big deal, but sure, it is. Going into the third period, it is. It's momentum that we lost. We lost it at Ferris. We know that. So this isn't one person. This is us collectively. But our job as coaches is to get the most out of that one person and then to get the most out of the collective group. And that's what the last couple of days have been. No different than last week. No different than the week before. So it's the frustration in my voice is that we've been down this road before. We need to show the improvement. Now, have we been down the road where we're leading every game and we end up losing? Not necessarily. But it's the same type of mindset for us. We need to take that step. We need to take that step, finish these games, whatever you call it. Find a way to execute at a higher level, individually and collectively.
Anybody else hurt besides Burkle coming out of the weekend?
No new carp. No new injuries. No.
Is that it?
Thanks.